What's going on, guys? So, 2025 is over, 2026 is here. I want to talk a little bit about prepping goals for 2026. And this is mostly to the new preppers. There's really three areas of prepping that I try and focus on. The first would be is immediate survival. Food, water, shelter. Those three basic things. Gotta have stored food, gotta have stored water. If you haven't done that before, buy a case of water, buy extra cans of food. If you live in a cold area, buy an extra blanket, buy extra wool socks, buy an extra coat, or a heavy sleeping bag. You don't have to do it a lot at a time. Wool blankets, an extra comforter. These are things that add up over time. But I put that under shelter. Then when you start to add on water purifiers and everything, get life straws, whatever you can find. And in this, I also would add like flashlights, batteries, stuff like that. But, so first, we got immediate survival. Food, water, shelter. The next is going to be security. And this is going to be certainly focused on guns, ammunition, training. Now, for those of us that live in good free states, don't have strict gun laws, it's not as complicated. So, if you live in a state, I'll use a free state that I don't live in. Take Wyoming, for example. Whatever, people are training with around the country, you're going to be able to own in Wyoming. Now, if you're in a state like New York, it's going to be harder. But I have a little tip for you guys. There are certain things that you can get that you can be effective with. If you are in one of these states and you're new to this and you want to get, something for security. 357. Great gun. Great round. You can also shoot 38 special out of it. Cool thing about the 357 for some of these states is, you got the revolver, you got the handgun. Revolvers are pretty much legal everywhere in the country. What else is also legal everywhere in the country is lever actions. So, one of the things that I might do, if I didn't really have any guns, wanted to get into protection, and again, this isn't something that you need to go do, but it's just an idea, is if you're only planning on getting a couple guns, you could get a 357 pistol and a 357 lever action. You can also get pump action shotguns, and there also are semi-auto options available. Even with magazine restrictions, often different 1911s, other guns, might make a magazine that's compliant to that state or whatever. Those are just things you have to get around. But a goal you can focus on is, if you're new to this and you don't have any guns, focus on getting one handgun, getting ammo, and finding training. That's the really important part that a lot of people forget. You can go out and spend all the money in the world on guns and ammo, but if you don't know how to use them efficiently and correctly, safely, that doesn't do you any good. The third area is one often left out, and that's financial. Of course, everyone says, well, if the world is ending, you only need to barter. A lot of prepping isn't about the world ending. It's about other smaller but still significant events that are hard on you. Prepping could be you lost your job, but you have money set aside. You have food, in your food budget. You can't have it be, if you have a family, $500 a month anymore. You need it to be $100 a month. Well, if you have rice and beans and canned meats, pastas, canned vegetables, maybe some meat in your freezer, maybe you can get by for a while on $100 a month, to buy eggs and, ground beef, stuff like that, for eating really cheap because you lost your job, hot dogs, ramen, stuff like that. So prepping's not only for the end of the world. So financial. Try and build a savings account. This is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. But I think it is a good idea to be prepped financially. I know 6 months is an often thrown around benchmark of cash for, 6 months expenses. And I don't disagree with that. But if you have no money saved and you just think, man, the world's going to crap and I don't make much, start small. Start with cash here and there. Or if that's all you can do, save something. So build up some kind of a savings account, and then so you have your savings account, I like gold and silver. I think that's a good thing to get into to store wealth, and, investments. There's plenty of apps nowadays. They're so easy to access where you can start an account and set aside money, let it grow for you. Again, I'm not a financial advisor, but I think that a good part of prepping is being ready for anything. And there's always a high likelihood, or a higher likelihood, that might be a job loss, or that might be the economy is just horrible. And there's inflation. These are things that could happen. Or say your car breaks down and you need it to go to work, and man, my car is toast. I need money for a down payment for another car. So I don't get some, ridiculous loan. These are all things that are, I think, a lot more likely than Mad Max on steroids happening. But prepping's about we're just really ready for self-sufficiency. Another very important thing, I don't think this is one of the 3 areas that I would consider a real area, but knowing your neighbors is really valuable. Having some sort of community. And I don't mean you gotta go meet up at some prepper network in the woods. But knowing your neighbors, knowing who they are, having each other's backs, might be a little bit easier where I live. I live in small town USA, in a rural county, in a relatively rural state. But I have lived in big cities before, a big city, and you can still get to know people. And I think that's really important. But I think probably the majority of Americans are relatively worried about 2026 and what's coming. And I know that being prepared for different situations can lessen that worry a little bit, because it makes you more self-sufficient when you have a year's worth of food and water, when you are financially stable. Or even if you're not financially stable, I don't make a ton of money, but I have money set aside. Or if you're ready security-wise for anything. I think these are smart things to do in this next year. They're always smart things to do, but as the world seems to get crazier, like more people are tuning into this stuff, and I just want this to be a little bit of a guidance. Start small. Save $20 here and there. Buy a can of food extra every time you go to the store. Sorry, I got hiccups. Buy a case of water, or like me, I like the thicker water bottles, so I do the thicker gallon jugs, or sometimes they're 3 liters. Store them in a closet. maybe, a couple times a year try and hit a firearms training, or go to the range with, if you have a friend who really knows what they're doing. Often people will say they have a friend that knows what they're doing, who's really just a cop who shoots his gun twice a year. No, if you know nothing about guns, then yeah, that's probably better. That is better than nothing, I would say, to learn from someone who at least knows how to operate the firearm safely, hopefully. But maybe buy an extra case of or an extra box of ammo when you're out and about every little while. Start small, and then in a couple years you'll think, wow, man, I do have some money saved up. Man, I got some ounces of silver and a quarter ounce of gold. Man, I got 3 months worth of food. Man, I got like 5 guns. Start small. Builds up over time. Make 2026 the year that you're going to be more prepared for things happening. Well, have a happy new year, everybody.